Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us Team Mosso at the1916company.com for purchase pricing and availability questions concerning this watch. This is the Audemars Piguet I love. No compromise, haut de gamme, complicated dress watches. And you're looking at a refugee from the early to mid-2000s, very much different from the dress watches AP makes today. This is the Jules Audemars Equation of Time. It is also a perpetual calendar moon phase and sunrise sunset that is cammed specifically for the locality of New York City. So this watch right here is about F34,000, so early to mid-2000s in terms of era, in yellow gold, 43 millimeters in diameter, 11.9 millimeters thick from lug tip to lug tip, 49.6 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. On my wrist, which is 16 centimeters in circumference, it wears fairly well, though it's big. I would say if your wrist is my size, you could wear this, but if your wrist is any smaller, you're going to want to look for a smaller AP perpetual calendar. That said, it is thin by any standard and will slide easily underneath a dress cuff. I'm from New York, and I'm actually fairly close to New York, so this would probably work for me down in Philadelphia. That's the thing. Equation of time is globally valid, whereas the sunrise and sunset complications are geographically proximate. The strap is beautiful. You can see it is a large, symmetrical, rectangular scale alligator leather, always an extremely high quality and fairly expensive cut of the animal. You can see in profile it's got a folded edge, monotone stitch, and then on the bottom, calfskin lining. No crimping, no gouging, brand new AP factory strap. Note the use of a curved spring bar so that the lugs can be drilled close to the case, so there's very little daylight between strap and case, but also there's no impediment to the motion of the strap. We've got a folding clasp. It's a single fold friction fit clasp with the AP logo style deployant action. And then we've got lugs that are beautifully welded on and hand finished. This is slow fabrication, old school welded lug case construction. Lug into case socket, welded together, filed to remove the gathered material from the weld and create that sharp break. Note the distinction not just between polish and satin, but between the longitudinal satin of the flank and the vertical satin of the lugs. We have a little AP crown right there. The pusher adjusters are for adjusting the mechanisms within. We have a polished, slightly domed bezel, and then a dial with a lovely and unusual guilloche pattern at center. There's a Reho outboard that works with this little solar flare serpentine hand that indicates the difference between true solar time and mean time. So, of course, within your time zone, east to west, there is some variation between the exact time that the sun is directly overhead and what they call mean noon. So true solar noon is when the sun is directly overhead. But every place in a time zone, even with nominally the same time, every place in that zone doesn't have the sun overhead at the exact same moment on the clock. So clock noon is an average of all the locations in one time zone, whereas true solar noon is when the sun is directly over your head at your location. And so that's what the equation of time does. It measures the difference in time between the arrival of solar noon and clock time noon, and that can range from roughly minus 15 minutes to plus 15 minutes a day. There is also a perpetual calendar with the moon phase. So the perpetual calendar does not have to be reset until the year 2100, assuming you keep it running. So you've got your moon phase, which doesn't need to be adjusted for 122 years. Then you've got your month, you've got your date, you've got your leap year phase and your day, and you've got your sunrise and sunset. And so the way this works is that you have cams inside the system. By the way, if you're wondering where's the leap year, right there. Bissextile, Quantième Bissextile, that's your leap year. The cams are approximate for sunrise and sunset. While AP can recam, a lot of people will leave them sort of set where they arrived, in the same sense that very few people are going to buff an engraving or a dedication off an old pocket watch. The original camming is sort of part of the heritage of the watch, and I recommend you leave it. We have yellow gold hands and Roman numerals, including a watchmaker's 4, and they are applique for an upscale multi-planar look. The watch actually has quite a well-balanced dial. It almost has perfect cruciform symmetry. Then you turn it over, and based on the JLC 920 that was created for and only ever used by the Holy Trinity, we have a caliber 2120-based perpetual calendar equation of sunrise, sunset, equation of time. So this is technically known within AP as caliber 2120/2808, 2808 being the module. So you've got this automatic that has a beryllium ring that runs all the way around the movement and then sits on 4 ruby roller bearings, so it can be cinched super close to the bridges and plates without ever colliding under shock. You can see that the rotor has been elaborately hand skeletonized and engraved. Even the little characters like Audemars Piguet, 5 positions, Swiss, isochronism, all of that engraved by hand, and then the interior spaces have been beveled, outrageously well tuned, decorated, finely regulated in 5 positions, which is a high horology standard. These movements are used less and less by AP, these 2120 bases, because they just take forever to decorate. The 7121 is a nice movement, but it is not as finely finished, especially since AP hasn't really made this rotor in well over a decade on regular production models. Stripes on the bridges, engine turning on the base plate, bevels to die for. You can see them also in all of the jewel and screw sinks. We have solarization on the ratchet wheel. The ratchet wheel attached to a little click that prevents it from running backwards. The click is black polished. All screw heads are polished and their slots and circumference chamfered. 40-hour power reserve. You can see there is a free-sprung Gyromax style balance. It beats weight at 19,800 vibrations per hour. And it's got 41 pivot jewels. And on the opposite side, it has the perpetual calendar, the equation of time, and the sunrise and the sunset. All this water resistant 20 meters, so don't test your luck there. Again, an automatic 40-hour that will not need any calendar corrections until the year 2100. Reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.